So first thing first is thank you for today, Gary. I think I got a text right now from my wife saying that you got one new fan right now, and I should thank you because for the past 1 year I've been trying to create content, and at the expense of her asking me why are you always on Instagram. So my
Makes
first
sense.
question to you,
Yeah.
what would you suggest to people who are trying to build their content, but they have their friends and their circles, their families that also wants attentions?
Look, I think you have to balance because no level of professional success is worth damaging personal relationships that you cherish. Now, my argument oftentimes is what makes you happy might be worth having a more difficult relationship with your spouse or your parents, and that's just real life. People don't like to say that out loud, but that's true. But first of all, you have to understand what relationships matter to you and like what matters to you. And I think balance comes in a lot of different ways. Some people want to balance on every day, so they take 30 minutes or 4 hours or whatever they decide off. Other people like to balance within a week, within a month, within a year, and so I think that you have to communicate.
Yep.
And I think you owe it to the people you love the most to at least explain what your thinking is.
Right.
And if they're willing to pick it up, what you're putting down, then that's great. And if they're not, then that's great too. So I think some people keep it inside. So I think you communicate it. But I think that you have to be empathetic, that a lot of times people are not going to understand. I have basically, everything that I have been given accolades for, I was originally criticized for.
Yep. Yep. And the first time I hear you, I was like, who is this guy? What is he saying? But a few years after, oh, now I got what you're saying.
It hits you. As a content creator, we live in a country where we're massive in population, 250, 260 million people. And numbers does matter in terms of getting
100%.
viewers, getting
100%.
subscribers, followers, and everything like that. But in another side, your values matter. Your own values matter. Sometimes your values doesn't meet what most people need, but you need those numbers. So where's the line between actually listening to what people want and the majority wants, which some of us in Indonesia, majority wants it like pranks, infotainment, drama kind of thing, the drama on social media. While the value that you want to send, want people see, is more like how educate them about probably things you said. Where's the line on that?
For me personally, I've never pandered to what works. I'm just not interested in the followers.
Right. Okay.
I don't,
You just keep giving.
the line is very simple. The second I start producing content that I don't believe in is the second I stop making content. For me personally, I just don't give a shit. I don't. Of course, numbers matter. Like I understand, but at what expense? Like if that's the case, why don't you just buy followers?
True.
You understand?
True.
So for me, if you look at my career, like, when D-Rock, you started what, 3, 4?
4.5.
4.5. How many subscribers do we have on
YouTube?
48,000, 84?
48, yeah.
I was an early pioneer on YouTube, but then I made a huge mistake and I went on Vidler and left YouTube. And so when D-Rock came 4.5 years ago, 2015? In 2014, that was already 8 years after I'd been on YouTube. I was so right, and yet I was sitting 8 years with less than 100,000 subscribers because I abandoned the platform too early and never got the value out of it that I should have. But I wasn't, like when we came back, like D-Rock will tell you this, as somebody who was a connoisseur and an advocate of YouTube, and still to this day, my team wants me to do more things that are best practices for the platform to win, and I'm not willing to do it.
Zero.
Because our vlogs and our content may not be the kind of stuff that wins on YouTube today, but it's gonna be there forever. So maybe it's pranks today, but I think content that brings people value, that's human, somebody's gonna watch this in 31 years and get value. The joke that you make as a prank, expires a year or two later because it's not culturally as funny.
That's a good one.
So it depends on what you're trying to play for. I'm not interested in short-term vanity metrics to alter the way that I want my legacy to play out.
All right, awesome. Gary, most of our listeners are those in their 20s. What are the skills that you think people must hone to stay relevant in this era? How does it impact businesses?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things that's very obvious is that communication drives behavior, right? So I think one of the biggest skills that's needed, regardless of what you do, is the ability to communicate whether you're selling that cool hood, sweater, whether you're trying to get people to come to a conference, whether you're trying to get them to listen to your podcast, be the mayor of this town, cure a disease, you've got to communicate. So I think what's amazing about communication is if you wanted to reach 100 million people in Indonesia 25 years ago, you needed the newspaper, the radio, or the television.
Or the birds,
right?
or the pigeons.
That's right. Today, you can use free platforms called YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter. That's incredible. It's changed the world. So I think the biggest skill everybody needs is the ability to know how to make contextual creative for the platform that most dominates the attention of the end consumer at that moment. And that's a very long sentence, and I'll break it down one more time. Can you make content that's contextual to the platform, right? Because a LinkedIn video is different on LinkedIn than it is on Facebook. On the platforms that currently have the attention. So, for example, I mentioned earlier, 6 years ago, being good on Path mattered here.
Yep.
It didn't matter in China at the moment. So being good at Path 4 years ago here mattered. Today, nobody cares. It doesn't even exist. So, like I said, being great at LinkedIn today matters more than it did 4 years ago. Mattered more than it did 14 months ago. That's how I think every day. Every day I wake up and the game can change on me. There's new features the platforms roll out. There's behaviors, right? You couldn't reach a 63-year-old woman in Indonesia on Facebook 3 years ago. Now you can. But the 26-year-old on Facebook, now you have to go to Instagram to reach her because she's not on Facebook. This is a moving and living organism. And that's how I treat it.
Right, one more question. All right, last question. For all of us Indonesian who are hearing this, what makes it worth your time to fly all the way here and come to the conference and share?
I'm unbelievably passionate about talking about the things I believe in, and what you look for is the right setup for an opportunity to spread your message. So I haven't spoken in the market. There was a very large audience to speak to. The timing worked out on my calendar. And so there's a lot of serendipity, right? Like literally, for example, if this conference was 2 weeks from now, I wouldn't be able to do it because I have my fantasy baseball draft and I wouldn't miss that. So there's a lot of serendipity, but I have ambition to reach as many people as I possibly can. And I do believe that along with doing it online, it's important for me to take the time and hug and kiss and shake hands and see people. And more importantly, I'm listening. I always say this, I'm listening. I'm very calculated. I've watched today what people have been wearing, what they responded to, what did the audience laugh to, what didn't they, what did I expect them to laugh to, what didn't they? That all happened today.
Yeah.
So, I'm coming to spread my message, but I'm also trying to suck out context about the culture because over the next 50 years, I plan on reaching every corner of the earth. And obviously, this is a very big market that I think has a lot more parallels to a US-centric DNA like me. And so it was inevitable.
Right.
What do you find then after your session?
I think the audience was less reserved than I thought they would be. It was like, which was exciting for me. That works for me. But it was funny. Normally, and I wonder if D-Rock caught on this, normally when I have an audience that's so willing to laugh and things of that nature, I tend to curse more and make more jokes and play with the audience.
Yeah.
Today was interesting. I was so passionate, so excited, so focused on getting just one person to say, fuck it, he's right. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna live for my sister or for my mother or for I was interested. I would tell you, this is no question, the most lively audience I've ever had that I didn't play into. You agree, right? And that was, and I'll be thinking about that on this 24-hour flight home. I've already been thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder why. And it means that I'm excited about what I'm talking about right now. It's very clear to me, and it's a very important subject. It's clearer to me than ever that self-awareness, self-esteem, patience, these are foundational truths to happiness.
Thank you, Gary.
Trying to get that empathy wine of yours someday.
Ah,
when I'm in US.
thank you.
Thanks.